top-of-the-line heavy cruiser Mikama. I'm sure there's plenty of room inside, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why the IJMDF HQ can't be located in a regular old building. That's a lot of letters. The IJMDF HQ. I don't know. Maybe it's because Tacoma is merely leased territory, and the government doesn't want the military's command center to be within another country's domain. Whatever the reason, the optics ain't that great. The United States might even take this as a provocation. And with the Japanese district sandwiched between the U.S. Army stationed at Fort Lewis to the south and the U.S. Navy deployed up north, I'd rather not take our chances. In the end, we're both wary of each other.
同盟国か。失礼します。立浪注意。入ります。
楽にしてくれ。
は。
Easier said than done. Because this is Major Jinguji Marumo in the flesh, the top dog of Seattle's TSF forces. Not only is she a veteran surface pilot, rumor has it she's good enough to have served as a stint as an instructor in the Fuji Tactical Fighter Training Group. On top of that, the Major is the face of the IJMDF's TSF forces in Seattle. She's a legit heavyweight, regardless of her actual rank. Am I supposed to be at ease in front of someone so awesome? Hell no. Fat chance. Besides, this is only the second time we're speaking face to face. First time was during my debriefing. Man, that's the closest I've come to a police interrogation. Then we made small talk at the ensuing mission briefing, but I don't think that quite counts. Putting that aside, I have to say, she's pretty hot. Goddamn right she is. My man Hibiki. My man. Hell yeah. Let him know. Fuck yeah. That's my boy. My man Hibiki, he knows what's up. You know what? I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Why? Because I can. I mean, yeah, I can see why people say she's like a drill sergeant from hell. Just got this classy school teacher vibe to her. Makes my imagination run wild, as it should. Jinguji Sensei. Dress her up in a pencil skirt, add a pair of glasses, you've got the whole package. Man, if only Matsukaze was here, that damn horn dog would be drooling. Anyway, she doesn't seem all that bad. I heard she has a couple nicknames, and Mad Dog is one of the ones I've heard most often. I wonder how she got stuck with it. Did she lose her shit and bite some dude's head off or something? Wow. Okay. Fuck you. This fucking game. Because that's par for the course of any superior officer serving at the front lines. If you ask me, that ain't enough to earn yourself the title of Mad Dog. Not by a long shot. Oh, you're gonna fucking learn who the Mad Dog is. And since a loose cannon would never make it this far up the career ladder, maybe this is one of those cases where the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Oh no, she a bad bitch.
さて、待たせたな。どうした？何かいいことでもあったのか？
で、いえ、何でもありません。
Damn, so I really was at ease. What if that means I have the makings of a big shot?
まずは改めて先日の出撃はご苦労だった。記録も見たが、病み上がりとは思えんせんから。
は、ありがとうございます。
特にあの変則的な状況下での貴様の対応は高く評価している。後方に被害が出る可能性もあった中、前線部隊だけで対処しきったことはアメリカ軍にも面目が立つ。よくやった。
は、ありがとうございます。
Whoa, whoa. I know Major Jinguji is famous for a no bullshit approach. Is she really gonna say the quiet part out loud in front of a mere lieutenant? I'm happy to take all the praise I can get, don't get me wrong, but I ain't sure we should bring the Americans into this conversation.
だが、
oh.
現在ベータの襲撃は未だ我々が対応可能な頻度にとどまっているが、今後もそうである保証は全くない。
はい。
他方帝国の現状は厳しい。戦力の再建、生産力の増強、人員の確保、教育。課題は山積みなどという生優しいものではないほどにうず高く積もっている。
はあ。
This whole thing still doesn't feel real to me. Shit, if someone told me this was gonna happen 5 years ago, I'd call them nuts. All that remains of the Japanese people is a handful of survivors in Seattle and Hawaii. That's it. I want to believe there's more of us out there, but reality is a harsh mistress. Endless tsunamis swallowed up the imperial mainland. With no mercy, towering waves struck our cities and our fields over and over, till everything sunk beneath the sea. Still can't wrap my head around it, but it's true. Japan sank to the bottom of the sea. There was no reprieve from the threat of death that day. Not even the few who evacuated by ship were genuinely safe. Many ships were struck by the waves and sunk. Others endured, but people were thrown overboard from the impact anyway. In both cases, death by drowning was the passenger's common fate. That's one of the worst ways to die. I only survived because I was deployed to Europe, and the TSF carrier I was on was out in the high seas when disaster struck. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Rebuilding when the majority of your countrymen are dead is nothing but crazy talk. Oh.
理解していることとは思うが、今の帝国、いや、人類にとって英士の存在は貴重だ。特に貴様のような熟練の英士、そして何より指揮官は一人でも多く必要とされている。
Well, yeah. The Beta were decimated following the Great Ocean's collapses, catastrophic events. That didn't stop them from trying to eradicate humanity.
よって貴様は今後も任務を果たし生還しろ。どちらが欠けても許さん。
はっ。
Trying to rebuild might be wishful thinking, but it ain't like we've got a choice. Fending off the Beta is part and parcel of living in Seattle these days. That's all the more reason for us to try. And yet, if we're going to be fighting for survival on the regular, rebuilding ain't going to be the main issue here. We need to exterminate the Beta. Failure is not an option. Not when there's so few of us, especially not when we want to make rebuilding our home more than an idle wish. Sure, maybe we'll fail. Maybe humanity will prove to be its own greatest enemy. For all I know, the future is set in stone. But it ain't over till the fat lady sings. This is a battle we need to see to the very end. We owe that much to our dead.
今回の作戦でも我々は貴重な兵士、そして戦術機を少なからず失った。戦況戦果に鑑みれば、以前ならばこの程度の損耗は許容範囲とされただろう。だが今は違う。寄るべき国土を失った現在の我らには、一機の戦術機、一人の兵士ですら惜しい。貴様の部隊からは鈴原少尉、隣接部隊のカロネードも含めれば氷川中尉もだったな。
はい。
二人の死は残念だった。彼らの機体も一部が回収可能と見られているが、部品取りに使う程度が限界だろう。
は。
Not a word about their bodies, huh? Doesn't take a genius to figure out what must have happened to them. Yeah. To be torn apart, eaten, and digested. The ultimate fate of almost all service pilots. It's a rare occasion when we get a body back in one piece. Losses are inevitable when we face the Beta. So what's the Major's angle here? Is this a carrot and stick kind of thing? First she praises me, and then the next breath she points out my shortcomings so that I can do better next time.
さて立浪中尉、今回貴様の周囲で発生した2名2機の損失、小隊長として原因をどう考える？
What? She wants me to tell her the reason they died? Is that what she's going for? Wait, maybe that's too naive. There's a good chance the Major isn't looking for an explanation, but for a fall guy. The implication is not lost on me. She's saying I did a terrible job as a commander, to the point where I got two of my people killed. To tell the truth, the idea has been on my mind. Suzuhara could have survived if someone more capable had been in charge. Can't really think of anyone in particular right now, but that ain't no excuse. She was my direct subordinate. She died in my watch. Hell, she could have died on the other side of the earth, and I would still find a reason to think I'm at fault. That's the burden of command right there. I'm responsible for her loss. That's a fact. I'm responsible. But I can't agree on taking all the blame. There's a bunch of things that about the operation that, even now, don't sit right with me. I mean, hastily assembled squads of 3, many of them manned by complete newbies, spread out all over the battlefield. That's a recipe for disaster, and something I had no say in. I know we're trying to do the best we can, but I can't stop wondering if there's something we could have done better. For starters, TSFs are supposed to operate in elements of 2. That's TSF Combat Doctrine 101. TSFs show their potential when working in elements. Add another element to the mix and there's an exponential increase in the combat force multiplier. As bonus, the differences in skill are averaged out to some extent. A 3 TSF flight can turn into a decent fighting force, but all of its members must be skilled pilots or even veterans. People who are used to fighting side by side can move as 1. But not all 3 TSF flights are created equal. Swap one of those veterans out for a rookie and the unit's effectiveness drastically goes down. Case in point, Yusuke could only fight at half strength for most of the early battles since she was busy babysitting Suzuhara. Now I ain't saying Suzuhara is at fault. We were dealt a bad hand, that's all there is to it. Whatever genius decided we should sortie in a 3 TSF flight with that kind of composition shouldn't even be left in charge of latrine duty. Lieutenant Hikawa's case is different. Round luck aside, his flight was light years ahead of us, since Lieutenants Ace and Miyono are both excellent pilots. Not even an outstanding team composition could change the fact that we were all in a pretty bad spot. Our forces were spread all over the battlefield, which made it difficult for flights to cooperate and limited the effectiveness of artillery support. So how do I explain this? Do I blame myself for their deaths? Nah, pretty sure the fault lies with the upper brass. That includes the major. I wanted everyone to go back home safe and sound. Didn't want anyone to die on me. Easy for me to run my mouth. I survived, so I can bitch all day. The people who die don't get to be so lucky. And it's all because of some freak accident. All because she didn't have enough experience under her belt. Nothing about this is right, for fuck's sake.
どうした？己の考えは何もないのか？
This is absurd.
今回の2名2機の損失に関してですが、まず鈴原少尉の戦死については、ご催眠暗示後の過剰鎮静の影響を軽視し、興奮剤の投与が遅れたこと、また全速移動という目の届きにくい状況では鈴原機を自律制御に移行すべきであったかもしれません。氷川中尉についての詳細な状況は把握しておりませんが、合流の判断が遅れた点は挙げられるかと思います。
それだけか？
ああ。
Speaking as a flight leader, it's about all I can say.
つまり、両名の戦士は貴様の指揮に問題があり、なおかつ氷川と共に貴様が戦況判断を見誤ったことが原因ということ。
Oh crap. Sounds like the major made up her mind before I even opened my mouth. It's gotta be why she's pressing the issue this far. Shit, what else can I say? I can't tell her she's wrong, because she's not. Not entirely, at least. If I did, it would only seem like I'm trying to dodge my responsibility. So I was right. She's fishing for an excuse to dismiss me. I'm the scapegoat. I get fired and everything that went wrong with the operation gets swept under the rug.
それは
Major Jinguji has to know that she's putting me on the spot. There's no way I can speak honestly in a situation like this. I'm a mere lieutenant. Yes, ma'am, and understood are about all I can say here. And besides, she should be well aware of where the underlying cause of their death lies. I can't say I did a bang-up job as a commander. At the end of the day, both Suzuhara and Lieutenant Hikawa died. I feel responsible for their deaths. That's why I won't lie. Nothing about this is fair. I'm pretty pissed off, to be honest, but I can't run away from my responsibility. But if I go along with the Major and let her pin this entirely on me, no one will ever learn about the real reason they died. And that's unacceptable. She might dismiss me on the spot. Whatever. This is clearly an attempt to place the outcome squarely on the ground commanders, so the upper brass can move on without taking any heat for their piss-poor planning. Yeah, I'd rather go down fighting than become their scapegoat. Oof, I can't wait to see how fucking Marumo reacts to that.
はあ、与えられた状況において最善を尽くすのが英士。
Yeah, pop off, my
そ
guy.
してたとえそれがクソのような作戦だったとしても、現場は目的達成に全力を注ぐのみです。
God damn, he is not fucking pulling any punches, huh?
後悔する。
The strategy was a steaming pile of shit. We did everything in our power to make that abortion of a plan work somehow. God damn. Oh yeah, that fucking glare, like, you motherfucker. And I said it. I spoke my mind and I called the upper brass incompetent while I was at it. Except not in such nice terms. Yeah, no, you fucking... that man tore in. Well, ain't like she cares if I'm right or not. My fate's already been decided. Lieutenant Hikawa and Suzuhara died because of me, and I'm supposed to sign off in that scenario. Cursing once or twice ain't gonna change anything, so I should hold back. At the very least, I want to make it crystal clear to the Major that I ain't gonna be held responsible for the upper brass's fuck-ups. I'd rather eat a bullet than serve as a cover for a bunch of armchair generals who don't have the slightest idea what we grunts have to suffer through. So I'm the fall guy. Fine, bring it on. But you better believe I won't go down without giving you a piece of my mind. Maybe the upper brass made the right call, considering how stretched our resources are. I can see how the battle could have easily turned out for the worse. Still, it doesn't mean I can let them justify their decisions so easily. I'll be damned if I hand them my head on a platter. I don't deny people place their trust in me and I failed them. But like hell, I'm going to stand by and let anyone disrespect their memories. Guess it's about time I find out whether the mad dog's bite is worse than her bark. After running my mouth like that, she must be itching to beat the ever-loving shit out of me. Boy, you have no idea. But unfortunately, she knows you're a valuable resource, or else she would give you the fucking Isumi treatment. I fucking bet you 100%. Yeah, no, but I kind of figured that's exactly what she wanted.
まったく物言わぬ軍の犬を気取るなら最後まで貫徹してみせろ。らしくないな、立浪。こちらにも残っていた人事資料によれば貴様はもう少しはっきりと上官に物申す男とあったのだが。
What's going on? Seriously, somebody fill me in, because I have no clue.
しかしポーカーフェイスを気取っているようだが全然なっていないぞ。一体何を考えていたんだ？ま、だいたい予想はつくが、まあこれは私の聞き方が悪かったのかもしれんな。では改めて同じ質問だ。だが今度は小隊長としてではなく、あの作戦に参加した一英士として答えろ。
Huh?
それは
The Major's telling me to speak honestly, right? Like, say everything that's on my mind? After my little speech there, she's gotta know I think the operation was fucked up 6 ways from Sunday. She expects me to go into detail? No way I'm gonna do that. This is obviously a trap.
どうした？言いたいことは山ほどあるだろう？素直に言葉にしてみろ。
There's no point in remaining silent. Now when the cat's out of the bag. As it happens, there's a ton of shit I want to get off my chest. Fucking pop off. Let's see what happens. Like, I'm interested to see what happens after this man pops off. Whatever. Here goes nothing.
では率直に申し上げます。
構わん、述べてみろ。
は、ただいま申し上げた通り、己の力不足は今更ながら痛感しております。また、今回の自分の出撃状況に鑑み、緊急編成であった点はやむを得ぬものと思います。急増であるにもかかわらず、初出撃の英士を含む変則的な3機編成の小隊となってしまったこと、また3機編成の小隊を2隊隣接して戦線配置してしまったこと、これによりドレイク、カロネード両隊は本来戦術機が従前に能力を発揮する分隊連携、小隊連携を取ることができず、結果として我々は出撃機体数に見合わぬ戦力としてしか機能せず、損害を拡大させてしまった点は否めないものと愚行します。
The upper brass was aware they need more pilots and tried to make up the number somehow. That's why me and Yusuke got shanghaied into a hastily thrown together flight. 2 pilots fresh from the hospital working together with a complete rookie. There's winging it, and there's whatever the hell this is. In the first place, the Stern TSF combination is the 2-unit element. That's the ideal way to draw out each TSF's full combat potential. We never should have sorted in a 3 TSF flight formation.
設定された戦場を網羅するには戦術機の数が圧倒的に不足していたと考えます。
Excuse me. Maybe Suzuhara and Hikawa would still be alive.
なるほどな。現場の英士としては最もな見方だ。
Seems like that was the answer she was expecting.
では重ねて聞こう。無謀と言える広範囲への展開、 そのような編成が取られたのはなぜだと考える？
Why? On its face, it's a really dumb question, because we didn't have enough pilots. That's the obvious answer. Even a complete idiot would get it right. So there's gotta be more to it, obviously. This has to be one of those questions where you need to think outside the box or you won't get it right. So let's work back from the answer. Say deploying our forces across the wide area wasn't reckless. Okay, now how do I get there? Assuming we had enough pilots, we would have organized into the standard 2 elements per flight formation, holding our number of flights constant that boosts our firepower considerably. And that's where I run into the same problem. The Imperial forces don't have enough manpower, so why not ask the Americans for reinforcements? How come that didn't happen? We're allies, it should be okay for us to call for support, right? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's why we didn't do it. But why?
外れ用のねザル入ったお偉方は何考えてんだっちゃ
少佐もだいぶ苦労してるみたいだぜ。これが終われば再編成って噂だ。
終わったらだ
Shit. The reason was literally staring me in the face. I knew all the facts I needed, but I couldn't quite connect the dots myself. It's all because of the upper brass. I'm talking about people way above Major Jinguji station. The Major's the battalion commander. Work your way up the chain of command, you'll find the regimental commander and the big shots at headquarters. But that doesn't tell me who's pulling the strings. Maybe it's the Royal Guard, the very top of the food chain, that orchestrated these events. That might be a stretch. Anyway, that's clear to me. What's clear to me is that some people hate the idea of US intervention in our military affairs with a passion. My hunch tells me HQ must have been trying to boost the number of flights deployed, increase the number of flights out there, and you can cover more of the theater of operations, and pilot skill plays no role in that calculation. Then again, the mastermind could always be someone from the US side. I would say that that's not entirely out of the question. These days we're more or less a meat shield for the American military. But now I'm going too far down the rabbit's hole. I don't want to make an ass of myself by answering the Major's question with a half-baked conspiracy theory. So what should I tell her? Anyway, at least something is clear to me now. I was wrong to take it out on the Major. Thinking back on the battle, the Major anticipated the issues that would arise from our irregular formation and took preventative measures to limit the damage as much as possible. She must have known Suzuhara would struggle, so my flight got assigned to an area with relatively low beta density, and Lieutenant Ikawa's flight just so happened to be manned by 2 highly competent surface pilots. Our team even got artillery support as soon as I asked for it. That would never happen if the Major hadn't considered where we could afford to open a hole in our defenses and prepared accordingly. It's like the scales just fell from my eyes. Major Jinguji was simply trying to make the best out of the mess she was given. Meanwhile, here I was, blinded by anger. The world going to shit seriously is weighing me down, and blaming someone else makes all of this easier to bear, because I'm no different from Sergeant Kusumoto. I arrived here in Seattle literally the other day, way too early to start acting as if I know the place, like the back of my hand, and then getting mad when things don't go my way. Suzuhara and Lieutenant Ikawa deserve better. I owe them that much. I owe her that much.
少佐、差し出がましいようですが。
Squints like, yeah, you wanna get bold, bitch?
ご配慮いただいた点、カルネード隊との合流を即時承認いただいた点、その他大隊長のご判断により損害を最小限に抑え、無事任務を達成することができました。改めてお礼申し上げます。ドレイク隊を預かる小隊長として1点のみお願い申し上げます。言ってみろ。は、軍司令部でいかなる判断に基づき下された決定であろうと、わずかなりとも部下を預かる身として、現場の A 氏が戦闘以前の問題で危険に追い込まれる状況は看過できません。司令部におかれましても、改めて現場の状況をご認識いただき、状況の改善に努めていただくようお願いする次第です。
もういいぞ、立浪注意。頭を上げろ。
Oh god, she's laughing. That's never a good sign.
それが貴様が置かれた状況だ。これまでとはまるで勝手が違うだろ。
はあ、その通りです。
That was my first rodeo as a commander. I've only led a flight as part of the European Expeditionary Forces. Never needed to think about the big picture there. Sure, we were up shit creek without a paddle on the East Coast, but Command was looking out for us. Our organization ran like a well-oiled machine, night and day compared to here.
その中であの働きだからことさらよくやったと思っている。
ありがとうございます。
だが忘れるなよ。これまでもそれは常に貴様の身近なところにあったんだ。誰かが貴様と同じ思いをすることで直接その矢面に立たされずに済んでいただけだ。
はい。
That must be what our commander on the East Coast went through. The man was shielding us from the consequences of our actions, and I never noticed.
これからはそうはいかない。貴様が望もうが望むまいが少なくともここにいる間はな。
はい。
Too late. I'm past that point already. I've learned the hard way just what kind of consequences my decisions can have. Maybe that's also why me and Yusuke were forced to take part in this operation, because that was a lesson we needed to learn.
部下を預かる身だと言ったな。それが単なる責任論、立場論からの言葉でないのなら、いや、そうでないと信じているが、だとするなら、その思いを示す方法は一つだ。取れる手は全て取れ。それをいかにして示すかを常に考えろ。いいな。
Do whatever needs to be done.
はっ、肝に銘じます。
よし。
So, this is the real Major Jinguji Marumo. Yeah, the instructor nickname ain't just for show. The woman's a legit role model and mentor. Hell yeah, she is. Shame. Couldn't find out why she's also called the Mad Dog, though. I'm sure we'll find out.
改めて言うまでもないが、我々は難しい時代に生きている。例えば、このシアトルは現在、基地施設のみならず、日本人地区、タコマ咀嚼地全体が軍の管理下にある。
Which means our new home is under military rule. Well, that's only natural. The military is the only organization left with the institutional capabilities to act as a government of sorts in this day and age. Ever since Blue Ocean, the operation to evacuate civilians from Eurasia, the armed forces have been firmly in control of governmental affairs.
自然、軍人も政治に関わらざるを得ない。健全でないのは確かだがな。
It's fair. It sure ain't, but it's a necessary evil. Still, going by the way she phrased it, the Major seems to agree with me.
先ほどの編成の話にも当然このような状況が絡んでくる。アメリカ側との折衝すら我々軍人に任されているのが現状だ。
So the US military did have a hand in our previous battle formation.
おいおい注意にも必要に応じて状況を説明しよう。だが貴様も決して傍観者ではいられない。覚悟しておけ。
はっ。
さて、少しばかり前置きが長くなったな。今日呼び出したのは他でもない。貴様の今後の配属についてだ。
Time to get demoted back to a grunt. Not much of a surprise considering I lost 1/3 of my flight during a temporary assignment. Yeah, it's about to be the
一
exact
応聞い
opposite.
ておくが、注意はシアトルの現状をどの程度把握している？
Now that came out of left field.
いえ、まだそれほどは。退院直後に非常招集がかかりましたので。
I was done with rehab, but rushing me straight to the hangar right after transferring my personal data to a new fortified suit. And it was surprising, ain't gonna lie.
そうか。実は今回の作戦分析を踏まえ、前々から計画されていた大隊内指揮系統の再編が確定した。
再編。
噂は聞いたことがないか？
いえ、その程度なら聞いています。
そうか。まず大隊長として部隊指揮に専念するため、我々大隊長の中隊長兼任を解除。それぞれ第一中隊には別途指揮官を任命する。
Smart thinking. This way Major Jinguji can focus on her primary role.
これは我々実動部隊の裁量権を担保するためでもある。
Last time, a bunch of armchair generals made a mess out of everything. The idea's gotta be to leave the ground commander fully in charge of all strategic decisions.
隊全体の状況をより正確に把握し、適切な編成配置を行うこともこれに含まれる。ありていに言ってしまえば、先日の貴様らのような編成配置を許さないための措置だ。
The way she's talking makes it sound like this whole thing was her idea. And from what I've heard so far, it seems to me she's been struggling to handle all of her responsibilities. I mean, no kidding. Serving as the battlefield commander while also playing politician has gotta be like getting stretched in two different directions at once. No one would expect things to get better overnight. This is as good a start as any. Once your reforms come into force, we should start heading in the right direction. The path to reach this point is bound to have been a rocky one.
さらに大隊長の指揮統制能力を強化するため、戦闘時における従来の副艦機に加え、直属の大隊付き小隊を各大隊一つずつ新設する。
This is getting complicated.
大隊付き小隊は戦闘時に直卒の機動部隊となるのはもちろん、大隊内及び他部隊との連絡調整、平時からの大隊長補佐が任務となる。
なるほど。
All these flights are gonna do is take care of chores? Oh, let's see if I'm getting this right. Basically, the battalion CEO gets to supervise the entire TSF force, but the 1st Squadron's commander takes effective control during actual battles. However, the CEO keeps an ace in the hole, a new flight that can be ordered around at will. Yeah, she ain't reinventing the wheel here. Flying company is supposed to respond quickly to any situation that arises on the ground, the kind of flexibility that our situation calls for. On the other hand, while it might be a pretty sweet deal for the CEO to have a squad at her disposal, it's a thankless and challenging job for the people in question. Man, administratively speaking, the Imperial Forces command structure is a mess. Stuff like this would have been in place all along. It's a miracle the Major's been hanging in there without someone to deal with the chores. That's just nuts to me. Total respect to her.
立浪注意。
はっ。
本日ただいまをもって第一戦術機構連隊第17小隊を編成。機関を本小隊指揮官に任命する。
You can't be serious.
第17小隊は第一大隊付き、つまり私の直属となる。
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm gonna work directly under the Major Jinguji?
先にも伝えた
Hell yeah.
が、これは先日の貴様の指揮能力、臨機応変の対処能力を買っての任命だ。期待し。
So the conversation earlier was nothing more than an extended job interview? Now I feel bad about acting like a complete jackass. I ran my mouth like that and still ended up with a job? It's kinda wrong, dude. And we're the 17th flight. The regiment consists of 2 battalions each with 2 squadrons of 3 flights, for a total of 12 flights. Naming us the 17th is a way to show we're special.
はっ。ありがとうございます。謹んで拝命いたします。
I'm the errand boy in chief now. That suits me just fine. I have a feeling the Major's gonna make things happen, and I'll have a front row seat to see it.
当面は私の副官扱いになる。事務や調整作業など慣れないこともあるだろうが、この経験は必ず役に立つ時が来る。その自覚を。
ご配慮ありがとうございます。
なお、第17小隊には貴様の部下である仙道少尉に加え、先日の作戦で臨時に指揮を執った英子少尉、妙野少尉を配属する。
はっ。
I've already seen what they can do in battle, so no complaints on that front. Nah, the problem is that both of them are, well, kind of a handful, that's putting it mildly, though they'll fit in quickly, so there's that. Well, after their little stunt at the hangar, they might as well be part of the team already.
とりあえず2人の人事資料だ。一通り目を通しておけ。
はっ。頂戴いたします。
Second Lieutenant Miyono Shizuku. Born in Tsuno Village, that's near Kitakyushu City in Kyushu from the looks of it. Never heard of the place. And she's a war orphan, figured. Seems she's really been commissioned for just about half a year. Gotta be a prodigy or something. What else? Graduated from Tacoma IJA Surface Pilot Training Academy. There's one in Seattle now? News to me. Next, Second Lieutenant Ellen Ace. She's been teaming up with Lieutenant Miyono all this time, huh? No wonder they seem so close. No military history before enlisting in the Imperial Forces? Okay, that's odd. Well, what the fuck?
これ、エイス少尉はカナダ人ですか？
What is She's a defector from an enemy country. Enemy? America's at war with Canada? I thought she was a survivor from the UN Forces contingent garrisoned in Japan.
ああ、アメリカ経由で正式に我が国へ亡命している。もともとケベック地方の出だそうだ。
そうだったんですか。
Canada's an ally of France. I don't know about the West Coast situation, but at least I know they fought against the Americans on the East Coast.
イーグルスリーイーグルスリー
ダメです。邪念が間に合いません。
ちくしょうはめられたランダム会議誘導弾
That's probably the reason her personal history wasn't disclosed. Lieutenant Ace herself must be a political asset or something.
エイス少尉、問題はないんですか？
ああ、なるほど。帝国軍入隊以前の軍歴が気になるのだな。
すみません。東海岸では実際に。
There's very little viable land on Earth, and the East Coast is no different. The place wasn't big enough for us, the French, and the Canadians. So before long we ended up killing each other over it, and they won.
ご存知とは思いますが、私が以前所属していた日本帝国欧州派遣部隊は
大解放の際に発生した電磁障害により帝国本土と連絡が途絶し、日米同盟にのっとり一時的にアメリカ軍保護下に入った。
はい。
欧州大陸から撤退した船団は進路をアメリカ大陸東海岸に取り、そこで電磁障害の回復を待つ予定だった。
フランス、カナダ軍と交戦状態になりました。
That's how the first war over one of the few viable tracts of land left in this world started. Since we were under the US military's protection, we had no choice but to fight by their side.
エイス少尉の心情については完璧とは言えないが、裏は取っている。
ですが、
彼女の能力は貴重だ。
So the Major's vouching for her personally. Guess there shouldn't be any significant issues with her background, or so I hope. Even then, it's still a hard pill to swallow.
彼女の能力が高いということは理解しています。ですが、敵国の軍人です。それを踏まえた上で、彼女を使う根拠を知りたく思います。
I've seen what she can do with the Shiranui. That ain't the issue. If I'm gonna be stuck working with her, there's a bunch of things I gotta know. Her service record, her psychological profile, etc. I ain't about to trust my back to a perfect stranger.
私からもその資料以上の情報は明かせないのだが、とはいえ機動効果の資格を持ってるぐらいだからな。
Oh, damn.
彼女の優秀さは折り紙付きだ。
機動効果兵です。これか。
Orbital drop troopers. Commonly known as orbital divers, they serve as the opening act of any hive capture operation, as they dive from the Earth's orbit straight into the hive, with their TSFs encased into re-entry shells.
機動効果兵に選抜されている時点で貴重なベテランと言える。
That explains why the Major's hell-bent on having her around.
立浪、我々には人手が足りていない。使えるものは使いたい。たとえ敵の可能性があったとしてもだ。
そうですね。了解しました。
We need all the hands we can get. That's a hard fact.
彼女はすでに何度か出撃し実績を作っている。この意味がわかるな。
はい。
It means Lieutenant Ace has fought against the Canadian or French forces at some point. Even in the United States, military service is a prerequisite to permanent residence. If you want American citizenship, you gotta serve for at least a couple of tours of duty. So if you want to become a part of the community, you've got to put your life on the line. Prove that you can carry your own weight. Doesn't have to be that way, but that's the spirit of this age.
無論今後も彼女の監視は継続する。そしてその役割は今後貴様が務めることになる。いいな。
Snitches get stitches is a code any man worth his salt lives by. Except when you're the man, it looks like.
今回再選任少尉は帝国での戦歴から先導となるが、本来ならばエースだったのは間違いない。そのあたりも考慮してやれよ。
は、了解しました。いずれにせよ、この書類は持ち帰って詳細を書く。
3人への正式な辞令の交付、また今後の任務などの説明は私から直接招待全員に対して行う。
了解いたしました。
本日は以上だ。部下への形は任せる。
は、では失礼いたします。
立浪。
は、
先ほど貴様を試すような質問をしたのは立浪響という人間の性根を知りたかったからだ。
What's this all about?
はあ、
我々は冷静に現実を見据えながらも理想を主張できる人物を求めている。それができる人間こそ今という時代を戦い抜くことができると私は信じている。
She really is something else.
そして貴様にはその可能性を感じている。
ありがとうございます。
だがな、もう少し気を抜いてもいい。
え？
これからは名実ともに私が貴様の直接の上官だ。上司の前で部下が愚痴れないようでは私の器が問われてしまう。貴様らしさというものが私は見たいんだ。
Fair enough.
かつてとにかく軍人としての常識をわきまえない部下がいてな。
Hell yeah.
だがそれゆえに立場にとらわれない柔軟な発想を我々にもたらしてくれた。その純粋な一念が岩をも通すことすらあった。これは私も常日頃自分自身に言い聞かせていることだが、貴様もあまり立場にとらわれすぎるなよ。時には自分がなぜ戦っているのか、その原点に立ち返るといい。
And that goes back to the message that they were trying to send in episode 0.
はっ、肝に銘じておきます。
引き止めてすまなかったな。改めて以上だ。
はっ、失礼いたします。